Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. I am Brad. Today we are talking about some NHL news today, and we got quite a bit. And we're talking about the Red Wings, the Rangers, the New York Rangers having a closed door meeting, just like I have a close the door to keep my cat out. It is very intense because usually when you hear closed door meetings with the team, it's usually the frustration the team has. Like it's just players only. So closed door means players only, no management, no staff, no coaches or anything. And typically when you see a closed door meeting, it's like, hey, we're frustrated with the coach. And so, or like the coach isn't doing it properly, or anything like that. But right now, the total environment of the locker room is very toxic for the New York Rangers. And so there supposedly multiple players have been, quote, super frustrated with Chris Drury, the general manager of the team, who's really created that environment where like guys are like, oh, like I'm on the trade block, like what's gonna happen? Be traded, like, and then they're friends with that person who's gonna be traded, and that's like that can be like God, it's a toxic. I mean, like I don't want to throw it around, but like because you hear this in like culture nowadays, like it's a toxic work environment. Like yeah, like if you have your general manager or your person who runs your store, right, says, hey man, like we're gonna be cutting people today, we're gonna be cutting people, so watch out. We're gonna be cutting people and bringing new guys in, and you're kind of like on your toes, and they're like, hey, by the way, Chris, we're probably gonna have training you, so so just like be aware. And you're kind of like, I don't really know if I want to work here right now, and so it just creates a bad environment. And then all your buddies are like, hey dude, like it's fine, like you're here right now, just enjoy it. It creates a bad environment right now, and so it's a bit frustrating with a lot of the team. And we actually have a specific player that we're going to talk about in just a second. But I do want to let you guys know that we are currently on day 34 of recording a podcast once a day, every day for the last 34 days. And so we're just trying to pump out a ton of content, and try and get, and, see what you guys want to hear and see what hits and what doesn't and see what works. And so let me know what your thoughts are on everything. Hit like, subscribe, put your favorite comment down there below. Let me know who your favorite team is. And what you want to cover on them, because I'm covering every team. And so that's the goal of my channel. Is I'm a huge Red Wings fan. I also like the San Jose Sharks and the Stars mostly. But I follow it all. I like following all the information. And right now, like these are some very interesting things happening with the Rangers locker room, as well as Vancouver. We have a signing for Winnipeg. We have a goaltender news for Toronto. Again, another signing. We have a player that left Nashville to go to one of their competitors and who was thriving, as well as an international superstar that was performing so well. And she is doing very, very well for her national team. So we'll be jumping in a couple of that. Oh, yeah. Our coach got fined. We'll be talking about that as well. So stay tuned. Again, let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe, and I appreciate it to stick around. So enough of pumping my own tires. Let's get into it. So again, Rangers, this closed door meeting, and we've talked about it a lot. We're like, hey, what would happen with the Rangers and who would they trade? What makes sense? I think they want to do kind of like a retool on the fly. There's a couple players that and supposedly like they're like, oh no, we want to turn down the heat and everything. It's like, well, you guys, like managers, like we want to turn on the heat. So who turned it up? You guys did. You guys are the one that started the shit. Pardon my French. Started the shit, and now it's like, okay, well, like you're like, then don't cause crap if you don't want stuff to be turned up. And so they talked about moving out Chris Trouba, and they tried to do that this summer, didn't work, and then they're like, hey man, we're gonna waive you, or you can choose to be traded to one of these places that we're like picking for you. Again, he decides not to go to Buffalo. Does not waive his no move clause to go to Columbus. But he was willing to waive it to go to Anaheim, and that's his choice right there. Because he had a 15 team no trade list, so he had to choose 15 teams that he didn't want to be traded to, and so they did that, and so they moved him. And so again, and so they move out Trouba, the captain, by the way, just to let you know. And they're like, hey, by the way, there's Trouba is their actual full-blown captain. You have Adam Fox, you have Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, and Chris Kreider. And management talked about supposedly trading a captain, Mika Zibanejad, an assistant captain, and Chris Kreider, another assistant captain. So you're telling me all this leadership is going to be moving out, right? Which is like, you're like saying, like, hey, we want to shuffle things up. And we saw this with Winnipeg. They did a couple of years ago when they moved out, like they bought out Blake Wheeler, and kind of shuffled some guys out of there and everything. They traded Andrew Kopp. And so we saw like a couple of, like, this happened before. It's not weird. It's odd. It's weird how they're going about it, right? Like if they had decided to do this trade in the off season, for Trouba, it wouldn't have been weird, right? The way they went about it, like, hey, they kind of threatened him, said, hey, like, we're trading you, and either you can be traded to a team that of your choosing that we offered you, or we can just put you on waivers and then anybody can pick you up. And it's like, well, dude, we don't want that, right? And so he gets a trade to Anaheim Ducks. Then supposedly they want to trade Mika Zibanejad. Well, Mika Zibanejad has a full-blown no movement clause, means he can't be traded, he can't be sent down to the minors, and he can't be waived without his approval, right? So all those things can't be happened. Unlike Trouba, who could have been waived, who could be traded to the 17 other teams, and who could be sent to the minors. So there were some options here, but with Mika Zibanejad, who's 31 years old and not performing up to his contract, he's making $8.5 million, and that is an expensive contract for a guy of Mika Zibanejad's pedigree. You want point per game. I mean, that's what you expect minimally out of a guy like this. And right now he's got 21 points in 30 games. So again, he's put up 0.7 points per game, which is not good enough, right, for his contract length, right? And then you have Chris Kreider, again, offensive dynamo, who does have a 15-team no trade list, similar to Jacob Trouba. He's got this year and 2 years after this left, but he's 33 years old. You're like, is he going to produce? Like, what's going to happen? And he is. I mean, he's putting up goals. He's putting up 11 goals in the last 27 games. So you times that by 3. There's 82 games in a season. So he's putting up about 30 goals in a season. He's got 1 assist. So he's putting about 33 points in a season. So he's producing something there, but I think Kreider's a little bit easier to move. I think there's a lot of desirability because a lot of teams are looking for goals, right? I always compare, if you're new to hockey and you look at the way they keep track of statistics in hockey, I always compare it to Mario Party, because in Mario Party, you can collect all the coins you want, right? Like, hey, like, collect all the coins you want. But the thing is that you're like, you could have 100 coins, but if you have 0 stars, you lose the game, right? If you have, 10 stars and 0 coins, like, you win the game, because it's the goal of the game is to have the most stars. And in the game of hockey, the goal is to have the most goals, right? And goals are worth 1 point, right? Yeah, every time you score, every goal is 1, right? It's unlike football where it's like, there's a field goal, 3 points, or safeties are 2 points, there's touchdowns are 6, but then you can go for the extra point, or then you get your extra point, or you can get the extra 2 points. It's just hockey. If it goes in the net, it's 1 goal, right? And so it's like a star Mario Kart. The one with the most stars wins. The ones with the most goals win. And traditionally, a team that scores the most goals in a season, or lets the least amount of goals in, does really well. And right now, they're not doing it very well. The Rangers in general are just not doing very well. They're at 15 wins in the last 30. So they've won half their games. They lost 14 and they got tied for 1, right? And they're sitting outside of a playoff spot for a team who won the President's Trophy last year, which means they got the most points from their games last year. And so you're like, what is happening? Like, why are they struggling so hard to be successful? And so I'm kind of like, okay, like, why aren't you getting the wins that you need? You're 3-7-0 in your last 10. And I heard a statistic on another podcast today that we're going to talk about Buffalo a little bit too. Buffalo is also doing terrible. They're 0-7-3 in their last 10. But if you look at the last 13 games, Buffalo, because they won prior to these 10 games, they in the 13 games, the first 3 of those 13 games, they had 3 wins. They had 9 points, right? And that's more than the Rangers have in theirs. It's just crazy because of the extra points and everything too. So I mean, you're getting phenomenal goaltending from Igor Shesterkin, again, who signed a contract. He's not the problem here, right? Like, the problem is this team isn't scoring enough goals. I mean, again, looking at Shesterkin, he's got a .097. So a 900 is pretty much average these days. So he's above average in save percentage. He's above average, or Jonathan Quick is above average in save percentage as well. Like, goals against average, he's letting a couple more goals in again, but I think the defense is really struggling with the Rangers. We're looking at guys. I mean, again, Adam Fox is doing phenomenal, of course. But when you look at guys like Zach Jones is kind of a young kid, right? Like, Adam Fox is the second most points in the team with 25. Panarin's doing phenomenal, 36 points in 29 games. Again, just hold up his end of the bargain. But then you have Keandre Miller's not developing like you'd like to see him, right? They moved off on Trouba, right? Ryan Lindgren is struggling a little bit too. His plus minus is a little bit down. And so you're seeing a lot of the frustration. I mean, they called up Chad Ruedel, but again, he's a third pair D. Like, you need these guys to really step up step up. I mean, they just straight up need to step up, and they need to be acting more properly defensively. They need to be acting more, just like putting up more points. And I don't know what's the plan, because with management, you're ruffling these feathers and you're causing this stir up, and you're putting the fox in the chicken coop, right? Basically, because you're not trying to settle these guys down. You're just like, hey, you're trying to stir it up, trying to cause chaos until everyone know you're trying to make changes, which I understand, like, signal you want to make changes, but like, do it, like, be Steve Yzerman. And I know I'm a Red Wings fan, but like, be cool. Like, don't, like, DBW, man, don't be weird. And Chris Drury's being weird, man. He's causing this ruckus. The players know it's not the coach, right? And again, the easy thing a GM can do is they can trade a guy, which is hard because you need another team to be able to accept it, right? But an easy thing they can do, you don't need anyone's permission to do it besides maybe the owner, is fire a coach, right? And the team's already deciding, hey, man, coach isn't the issue, right? What you're doing up top is causing the issue, right? If you want to bring a guy in, that's fine, right? Like, but trading out guys and threatening them is not the way to go. They're trying to use the stick when they should be using the carrot, right? And that may be how he has been ruthless before, and we've seen that with the New York Rangers. We've seen that with Vegas, and they've been doing some weird decisions. But like, it doesn't seem like, and mind you, it's not the young guys that are causing the issues. It's a lot of the old guys who aren't performing. We just talked about Kreider. We talked about Zibanejad, and recently they just scratched one of their young guys, 23-year-old Kappo Kaako, who is currently top 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in points right now. He's 14 points in 29 games, doing really well, right? He's actually has more points than Chris Kreider, having a career. He's on track to have a career year this year, and he's projected to have regular season projected 38 points this year, right? And that's above his normal. Where is his career? That's not showing his career. Anyways, he's supposed to be breaking his career points. Actually, we'll go here. 38. His career, his highest in his career, he had 40. Okay, so he's about on track to do his career, right? So I'm like, okay, he's not a problem then. Again, is he a second overall pick quality? No. I think they should trade him anyways, just get rid of him, because it just makes sense to move off of a guy who maybe you're just not in love with anymore, or maybe he's spoiled on the fan base. Supposedly he's asked for a trade. He's got 1 year left in this deal, but he's an RFA, so they want to keep him because they have control over him. And I don't think they're getting the right price for him. Again, 4 goals, 14 points, 29 games. And again, he got scratched the other day, and he said he's frustrated. He's surprised and quote, surprised and frustrated about the scratching, where the Rangers ended up losing anyways to the St. Louis Blues 3-2. The quote says, I think it's easy to pick on the young guys and put them out. And I think that is a huge call out to the older players on this team, which again, management's trying to move, right? They're trying to move a Panarin. They're trying to move like a Zibanejad. They're trying to move like a Kreider. They've already moved a Trouba, right? So some of these guys, I think Riley Smith isn't really working out. I mean, or actually, I'm rephrasing. Riley Smith is working out. I apologize. 15 points in 29 games. That's exactly what you want to see for a guy who's making like what, $3 million? Like, that's great. That's awesome. So I understand if you want to make moves, you're just Chris Drury's being weird about it, and I don't love that. And I think if you want some sort of, you want the room, not lose the room, you need to be able to stick. You need to be able to do this quietly and do it stealthily. But like, hey, like, don't be a dick about it. Like, you're just being a dick about it. And so that's my frustration with the Rangers. It's just kind of piling on, and I don't know where this rock ends, right? It just keeps rolling down the hill. And so I'm curious on what's going to happen with that. Side note, I do kind of want to jump into another Atlantic team, another New York team. Buffalo Sabres have 10 losses in a row. Again, we talked about that 0-7-3. Just struggling. Rasmus Dahlin looks like he's going to be coming back soon. He was injured recently, which is their captain. But again, this team is so young. They're so incredibly young. It's frustrating how young they are, because the thing is, this team is going to be, the Buffalo Sabres are going to be so good over the next 5 years. This team's going to be so good, right? I don't know if this is their year, but the team is not willing to spend to the cap. So they have $9 million in cap space currently, right? And they'll have 27 million at the end of the end of the deadline. So why aren't teams like this spending to the cap and bringing in guys that they're willing to support, like some veteran players who know how to win? Because the Buffalo Sabres have not made the playoffs in 13 years. It is the longest playoff drought of any team, any North America, any of the big four North American teams. But we're talking basketball, we're talking NFL, we're talking baseball and hockey. Buffalo is the longest active playoff drought right now with 13. And you have a lot of young guys. The oldest guys you have in this team are over 30, right? Jason Zucker at 32 and Connor Clifton. So that's on the offense. On the defense, Connor Clifton at 29. Mind you, it's so good to have these young guys. It should be fun. It should be exciting because you have a lot of young guys that can pop around. Like it's exciting. There should be some team bonding and all that jazz. But like you need guys in here that know how to win, and you need guys that are like former Stanley Cup winners, right? Like Red Wings brought in, mind you, you're looking for the mentorship, maybe not necessarily the play, but you're looking for the mentorship, right? Toronto brings in Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Says, hey, you just won a cup. Let's bring you in. They bring in Anthony Stolarz, who won a cup with the with Florida Panthers. How can we learn from you, man? Red Wings bring in Vladimir Tarasenko. His poor production is not really there, but you can see it on the ice. He's talking to young kids. He's kind of like talking about what they did or what he wants done. And just in having those communications, those talks are huge for young kids because it helps prop them up, tells them what they're doing right, tells them what they're doing wrong. And there's no guidance here, right? You have a Tage Thompson, 27 years old. Dylan Cousins, 23 years old, who's also in trade talks, by the way. Teams are reaching out because they see that the Buffalo is hurting, right? Mind you, they did bring in Jason Zucker, 32 years old, for $5 million for 1 year. And that's great. Do a 1 year deal, bring a guy in for $4, $5, $6, $7 million and let him bring the experience in, right? That's one of the reasons that Ottawa brought in David Perron. It's not, I mean, the poor production is nice. He definitely 2 years ago, he was performing well with the Red Wings. Last year did not do that great with the Red Wings, and this year he's not doing that great with Ottawa. But again, you bring him in because he's got a voice, he's willing to speak, he's a leader in the room, and he's a great assistant captain, and he's willing to speak his mind and help the young guys. Again, Alex Tuch, 28 years old, hasn't won anything. He was traded before the Vegas one. Jordan Greenway, 27 years old. Again, a bottom six kind of guy, not really a huge leader in that case, right? I mean, Nicholas Aube-Kubel won with the Colorado Avalanche. That's a good little pickup, right? $1.5 million. But again, bottom six guy. You need guys that are high caliber that can help move the direction. And guess what they don't need? They don't need another defenseman. They have so many good defensemen. I mean, they have their top four for the rest of their forever, right? Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, Matthias Samuelsson, and Bowen Byram. Again, I think they end up trading Bowen Byram, but like move out Bowen Byram, get like a pick and a good veteran back, and that way you're covered, right? So like, I don't know. I'm frustrated with Buffalo. I'm mad for Buffalo fans and New York fans in general, right? Islanders as well. So I'm just like, hey, can we get some stability here? Can we get some, like, each team has to have an identity. Even the San Jose Sharks have an identity. They're fun. They're exciting. They're having a good time. Are they winning a ton? No. I mean, look at the standings, right? We're looking at San Jose Sharks have 27 points, right? Not doing that great, 33 games. Buffalo Sabres have 26 points in similar amount of games. So they're doing just as bad as the San Jose Sharks. But Buffalo looks like they're having a terrible time. And they were in a playoff spot at one point, and they were in the third spot in the Atlantic. And now they're down to the second lowest team in the Eastern Conference. What a fall from grace, right? Rangers, 31 points, right? Like they're not having fun but that's not a team thing. That is a management thing. So it's just crazy to me. I just don't understand like what's the shakeups? Like why can't we settle these better? Why can't these things be like, I think Buffalo, the mistake was you bring in Lindy Ruff because you saw he was drafted by them. He played for them. He coached them, and they did really well before when he coached them. And I think it was one of those like nostalgia. Hopefully it works out. It's not working out. I think just the old school game, Lindy Ruff is not working out. He did okay with the Devils, but that soured fairly quickly. And so I just see Lindy Ruff maybe being the wrong signing, and management also bringing the wrong guys, right? Like I think if management brings in some guys that are veteran caliber or veterans who have that NHL or that Stanley Cup pedigree, I think that would be huge. I think that'd be so huge. Trade for a guy from Florida, from Vegas, Vegas, like, go to Marsh show. Like, why didn't you try to sign like a Marsh show, right? Who's an older player. He's struggling on a national team, but mind you, the whole national team is struggling. So, like, I don't know if you can put that fully on Marsh show. You definitely could be part of it, but like when Stamkos was trying to go, like, why are you trying to get in there, right? I know they tried for Marty HS, which would have been cool, but again, another young guy who maybe doesn't have that same pedigree because Carolina hasn't gotten out of the second round. So does he have that thing that's going to take them over the hump? And so I'm just curious what your thoughts are on Buffalo and the Rangers. So let me know in the comments below. We're going to jump into a quick break, and when we come back, we will go over the rest of the news that I kind of mentioned earlier. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. And yeah, stick around. We'll see you in a minute or two. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. And of course, if you're listening to this, you're probably a Red Wings fan. You can definitely bet the puck line, the total, the money line, how many goals are going to be scored over or under. Example is most of them are coming up is at like 6. So you can be like over 6 goals or under 6 goals. I mean, you can get all the action at Sportsbook. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers. Get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit cpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive award. Bonus bet expires 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice. You know what that sound is? That's the sound of ice skates skating on the ice at your favorite team's hockey game. You know, there's nothing like the excitement of being at a game, the crowd, the energy, the roar, the chants, the songs. It's just so much to it. And the best way you're going to be able to find an amazing seat and an amazing game is going to be at Game Time. Game Time also has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. And my wife and I were actually end up going to a Detroit Red Wings game on December 2nd, I believe it is. That's one that we're looking at, and talk about a super deal. And you can actually find any concert tickets there. You can do comedy. There's so many different options there. They also have curated deals to make it easier to find the best deals on great seats. And also you can see the view of your seat before you buy. They have a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection as well. One thing I really enjoy about it is the all-in pricing. Toggle this feature to show the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So you can also get a camera again. Talking about your view, it's a panoramic view. You can see the sea, not just like looking at the stage. You get the full panoramic view, and they also have the lowest price guarantee. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And so take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And we are back, and we're talking about a couple of more things, and we'll just hit the rest of the news. Again, we talked about the Leafs a little bit earlier, and they have their goalie, Anthony Stolarz, who is doing a phenomenal job with them. I'm actually going to pull up the stats. I think he's top 5 in save percentage in the league, or he was. Actually, I lied. No, actually, I'm right. He is top 5 in the league. He's actually number 1 in save percentage in the league with a .927 save percentage. Anthony Stolarz, and he is going to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with a knee injury. Supposedly, he has to get a little piece taken out of his knee. He's got a little piece stuck in there, and it'll be out for I said 4 to 6 weeks. The guy's been phenomenal in that. 9 wins, 5 losses, 2 overtime losses again, and a 14.59 goal save above expected, which, by the way, if you're not a stats nerd like I am, and I'm hardly a stats nerd, that's one that I really like. The goal save above expected is there's certain shots that were supposed to go in. And for some reason, the goalie anticipated it. They saw it happening. The guy was in a great position, and he saved that. He saved 14 more goals than that should have gone in that didn't, and which is why his numbers look so good. It's a stat. And mind you, Toronto has 2 of the top 5 goaltenders in save percentage in the league right now. Joseph Woll with a .918 save percentage as well, sitting at 5th. Again, between those three, you have Hellebuck, Gustafsson, and Dostal of Winnipeg, Minnesota, and Anaheim, respectively. And so you have these guys are just nails. They're just a nail gun right now, doing so well. And goals, and by the way, also in goals against average, they're sitting second and third, right behind Hellebuck, with a 2.15 for Stolarz and a 2.24, tied with Gustafsson. These are awesome. I mean, dude, Toronto has never really had great goaltending. It's been a very long time since they go good goaltending, and it's very impressive they're getting such good goaltending. And it's unfortunate that Stolarz is out. Mind you, they did call up Dennis Hildeby, who had a good game. So we'll pull up his stats real quick as well. He's one of their young goaltenders, and he's a massive guy. He plays big. Every time he gets to the net, I think he's 6'5". I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. Look at him. He's 23 years old. Last year of his contract. I'm sorry, he is not 6'5". He is 6'7". Jesus Christ, 6'7", 223 pounds. Again, hailing from Sweden. Only played 3 games. The stats aren't looking good. 3.68 and a .8075 save percentage. Not looking good. But again, he's young. He's 23. He was a 4th round draft pick. Goalies take a long time. You're gonna have Stolarz for this year and next year. Let Hildeby develop in the AHL. And again, if Stolarz is to come off the wagon, you can trade him and bring up Hildeby then, or run 3 goalies and rotate him. Okay. There's absolutely, I mean, I think in the AHL, I think he's doing a lot better. Look at his AHL numbers. He's doing okay, actually. His goals against average is 2.73, which is fine. And it's just under a 900 save percentage, which AHL they do. Save percentages are a little, I'd say they're a little more, like, save percentages are a lot lower because goalies typically are being scored on. They're not as good. The goalies aren't as good. And the players are usually a little bit better. And goalies take a lot longer to develop. So again, you can see those numbers improve. But again, with the Toronto Maple Leafs so far, he struggled a little bit. But again, we expect that out of a young goaltender. So we just hope that they end up bouncing back with those. And if you listen to the Steve Dangle podcast, they're talking about how the Leafs have been struggling the last 5 or 6 games. They just have not been playing that well. And so we'll see if they end up getting it back. So moving on to Winnipeg. Winnipeg signs the first China-born player, or Kevin He is the first China-born player signed to an NHL contract. Currently, he's the captain of the Niagara Ice Dogs at 18 years old. I mean, that's phenomenal. You love to see that. Again, it's a good first, especially for a Chinese-based or Chinese-born player, right? You like to see that these guys are getting into these. They're starting to perform. He's a 4th round pick from this past year's draft, just to show you how good he has been. The 4th round draft pick, 109th overall. Currently with the Ice Dogs, he has 43 points in 29 games, 23 goals already. Jesus Christ, this guy's gonna be. He's performing really well in the OHL. He's last year he was under a point per game. This year he's 1.5 points per game, basically. I mean, that's awesome. We love to see that again. And he's captain of his Niagara Ice Dogs. Again, at 18 years old, love to see that. So we might, at this rate, if he continues his production up, he'll probably end up playing the AHL next year. And then the year after, probably end up playing with, maybe it takes another year because he'll be 19 at that point, 19, 20-ish. So maybe he takes another year or 2 in the AHL and then comes up. But we'll see. But again, with this production, you have high hopes for a kid like this. So congratulations, Kevin. Love to see it, man. Moving on to the Calgary Flames. Calgary Flames sign Brayden Pachal. I always screw up his name. Pachal. They signed him to a 2-year contract. And looking at his stats right now, he's an RFA so far. So he's 25 years old. And he was supposed to be an RFA this year. He was making league min, but again, he gets signed a deal. He gets a 2-year deal at 1.1875, a very particular number. And so far in 31 games this year, he has 2 points. So he's not a huge point producer. third pair defenseman. He is right-handed, and it's a defenseman, which those guys come at commodities. So a good little bit. He gets to stay in the show a little bit longer for another 2 years, and it's guaranteed money. So he's going to make another like $2.3 million. So not too shabby. Love to see that for the young kids like him. Moving on to I'm actually gonna hit up Warsofsky. Then we'll head up the 16-year-old Slavic girl that's doing phenomenal, and then we'll talk about Kiefer Sherwood with Vancouver. So we'll go to Warsofsky. Head coach Warsofsky of the San Jose Sharks has been fined $25,000 for what they say inappropriate conduct versus the Utah Hockey Club. Supposedly, what ended up happening, and there's not really a record of it, which is crazy because I looked for the videos and everything. But basically, Celebrini got hit from behind, and he thought it was a kind of a BS call, and so he started complaining. Supposedly started talking to the refs, and supposedly got fined $25,000 for that. And the quote that he had afterwards is he says, I am passionate. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Sometimes it gets the best of me. But at the end of the day, I gotta have our players back, and that's not going to change. Which is great to hear. Actually, funny enough, he says he actually was fined a couple times in the AHL, and he cannot recall whether he got fined in the ECHL when he was a coach. So you love to see that passion for your guys, right? Especially with a first overall draft pick. You don't want a guy like him getting injured. We saw that happen with McDavid losing the Calder trophy that year. Yeah, Calder Trophy, not Calder Cup. Calder Trophy that year because which ended up going to Artemi Panarin because he got injured, right? He broke his collarbone. And so you don't want to see Celebrini get hurt. You want to make sure you protect your players well. And if he's got to yell at the team, you yell at the refs a little bit. I imagine he's not paying for that. I imagine San Jose Sharks are paying for it because they're like, hey, he's our guy. He's sticking up. I can see Mike Greer being like, nope, he's our guy. He's sticking up for the guys. The young kids, and we love to see that. So I completely agree with it. Stick up for your guys. Yell at the refs. Those are I talked to my wife about this. She's newer to sports. She's learning. And when I first started teaching her, I told her we rule, and something my dad taught me. We don't boo players. We boo refs, right? Players make mistakes, right? They're playing the game. It's a high-speed game. We understand that. Refs control the game, and they what they're doing, they do game management, right? And if they're not if he's not managing that hit that Celebrini got hit with, right? Like the guy shouldn't have checked him from behind. Absolutely, right? Maybe it was an accident. I don't think it was an accident, but I think he was just playing a tough game. But he gets bored. Celebrini gets bored pretty hard into the boards. And you concerned for the kid. He's 18 years old. He's small still. He hasn't put on a ton of weight because he's new, right? And so Warsofsky, sticking up for his guys, absolutely, I'm okay with it. And I imagine the San Jose Sharks ended up taking care of that bill of $25,000. Just kind of slip it on the rug. We'll write it off somehow, some way. We'll call it a donation well, technically, it all goes to the NHL fund, which is a donation. So they technically can write it off. So, which is crazy to me. Moving on to this is more important news than Kiefer Sherwood. Not that Kiefer Sherwood is not important. He's great, but I want to pump some tires of a Slavic woman, 16 years old. She's just, she's in the middle of it. And I actually talked about her. I actually have a video. I talked about her back in the day about last year, how well she was doing. And I can't find the video, but I talked about her last year, how well she was doing on the Slavic national team. And again, she's playing this year with the Slavic national team for the 2026 Summer Olympics. And what I wrote down and what I found was that in 3 games, again, it was like Iceland versus Iceland, Kazakhstan, I can't remember the other one as well. But in those 3 games, she scored 11 goals, 18 points in 3 games. Holy fuck. That's crazy. 6 points per game. Connor McDavid's putting up under 2 points a game on average, right? Again, putting up 6 points in each game on average is crazy. She had it was a 5, 7, 6 or something like that. She had 7 points in one of those games. And it's just nuts. It's crazy. Being part of 7 different plays where there was goals on net, that's phenomenal. I forgot to tell the woman's name. Nela Lopusanova. 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 Yeah. Nela Lopusanova, Slavic women's national team competitor, playing in the 2026 Summer Olympics qualifiers, killing it with 18 points in 3 games. Phenomenal. I mean, killing it, dude. Love it. And then the last bit of news, and we'll wrap up for the night. We got a shorty today. We have Vancouver signed this guy, and it was funny that they signed him because it was like when they talked about him, the captain of the team ended up recommending him, and so they're like, hey, like, can you sign this guy? He played so well. He actually played really well in the playoffs against us, and I kind of want him, right? And that was Captain Quinn Hughes talking to Vancouver about a guy they played in the first round. His name was Kiefer Sherwood. They played, and he honestly, he had a great first round. Him and Nashville played very well against the Vancouver Canucks. They're losing 6. But Vancouver played a very hard game. And so Quinn Hughes goes to management and says, hey, I want to sign this guy. I want you guys to sign this guy, Kiefer Sherwood. I think he's playing really well. And management, I imagine they gruffled their feathers a little bit. They're like, really? Him? I mean, and it probably looked at the tape and said, yeah, like, we could sign this guy. We could bring him in. And so they do that. So they bring in Kiefer Sherwood he's 29 years old, right? Center, shoots right. Currently playing, let's see where he's playing right now. On the right wing, on the third line right wing, making $1.5 million for the next 2 years, right? Because Vancouver seeks him out, right? So you're sought out, you're a little more higher price, so you get $1.5 million for 2 years. Cool. By the way, scores his first hat trick in the NHL, which is phenomenal. Third liner getting a hat trick. I love to see that. We just saw John Tavares get one. I think it's like he's had plenty of hat tricks. I think it's like a 6th, 7th, or 8th, something like that. I don't even know, but he scored a hat trick the other day for Toronto. But again, for a third line guy, it's harder. You're not getting the same. Excuse me. You're not getting the same power play time. You're not getting the same like opportunities on the top line with the best guys. But yeah, Kiefer Sherwood stepped up, got 3 goals. And the reason I'm talking, he gets the only 3 goals for Vancouver in a 3-1 win over Colorado. And the reason I'm bringing up these goals things is because he's not really a goal producer in the sense of like, he's like, oh, you're not like, oh yeah, Kiefer Sherwood, the goal dynamite. You're like thinking like Ovechkin. You're thinking, Ovechkin, Matthews, Laine, all these goal scorers. And so you look at his career, you're like, well, he's doing really well. He scored 3 goals. He's got to be a goal scorer, right? In 2020, so in his first year where he played significant amount of games, he actually played 3 seasons in the NHL and didn't score a goal. He had 50 games, 10 games, 16 games. And by his third part-time season-ish he made a debut in 2018, 2019. His first NHL goal came in 21-22 season with the Colorado Avalanche. Scores 1 goal. Next year, plays 33 games, scores 7 goals. Okay, that's cool. Good protection. The next year with Nashville, he actually performs very well. He had 27 points, so in 68 games. I was reading penalty minutes. 27 points in 68 games. So again, bottom 6 role, but performing really well. This year in 30 games, 17 points, 11 goals. He has already beaten his career high in goals in 30 games. Last year, he only had 10 goals in 68 games. This year in 30 games, he's 11 goals already, which is phenomenal. And they didn't even trade this guy. Nashville just let this guy walk, which is crazy to me. They just yeah, you're good. We'll let you go. Bye. See you later. So he signs with the and he was making league min every year. He's making, besides his entry level contract, this guy was making league min. And so they're like, yeah, we'll sign him. No big deal. And dude, I think Nashville, the way that they're hurting for goals, would love him right now. And I'm looking at Nashville's points right now, and I sorted by goals right now, right? Kiefer Sherwood, if he was playing on the Nashville Predators right now, would be leading the team in goals for $1.5 million for 2 years. $1.5 million per year for 2 years. He would be leading the amount of goals on Nashville, who is absolutely struggling. The biggest struggle bus. They're driving that thing into a cliff, dude. And they are performing poorly. Again, I think they're worse in the league right now. They're tied for worst in the league with the Blackhawks. They actually have only 8 wins. And Chicago has 10 or 8 wins, and Chicago has 10. And but Nashville, the reason they're keeping it tied with Chicago as last in the league is they have overtime losses. So they're not technically losses, they're overtime losses. So you get an extra point there. And their last 10, they're 1, 6, and 3. Goodness gracious, dude. Guys, someone throw these guys a lifesaver. Holy smokes. And so I'm curious on what's gonna. I mean, that's a great signing with Sherwood. Again, he's doing phenomenal. Again, he would be and by the way, in points, he'd be tied with Ryan O'Reilly. Crazy. Honestly, it's just stupid and crazy. If I sort by points, yeah, he has 17 points right now. He'd be tied with Ryan O'Reilly. He beating out Stamkos, Gus Nyquist, Brady Shea, right? Like Tommy Novak. And the only people that would beat are the real stars, Jonathan Marchessault, who has 18, Forrest Burke, who has 20, and Romeo Yossi has 23. I mean, they could absolutely use the scoring that Kiefer sure would be giving them on that third line. And it's a bit crazy. I mean, good for Sherwood, by the way. I hope he keeps this up because it'd be great for him in his next contract, make a little bit more money and everything. And really just start to really ball out because, like, hey, you only get to do this once. You only get to live this career once. And I want him to, I want guys to thrive in their role. Make your money, man. Do it while you can because you can't play hockey forever. So I know that because I'm currently not playing hockey professionally, nor did I, but it's okay. So anyways, let me know what your thoughts are and everything. Hit like, subscribe, comment down below. Real quick, one last thing I just saw when I updated the standings, just to give you an idea of what is happening. So before, I told you Buffalo was top in the league. Looks like they actually lost again tonight. They lost to the Montreal Canadiens. Last time I checked, it was 6-1. Let's check the score now because now I'm curious what ended up happening to them. It looks like they lost. The standings did change. Looks like they lost 6-1 to the Montreal Canadiens. Holy crap! So there's an 11-game losing streak for the Buffalo Sabres. And Montreal now gets the point, right? So they now are ahead of the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo Sabres are now last in the Eastern Conference. And another side note, the Ottawa Senators were in a playoff spot yesterday. They were in the second wildcard spot. And looks like Tampa Bay moved up past Boston, bumped Boston down to the first wildcard spot. But guess who bumped the Ottawa Senators out of their wildcard spot? That is right, the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are so freaking hot right now. They're 7-2-1 right now in their last 10. Only one game winning streak, right? Their goal differential is -23, and they're in the second wildcard spot. They do have 3 games on Ottawa Senators, but it doesn't matter. They're 1 point ahead. And that's what matters right now is that Pittsburgh is in a playoff spot. I do. That's awesome. Good for Sid just dragging this team to success. Look at the stats. They're 14-14-5. They're Bettman 500. You have Crosby putting up 30 points in 32 games. Evgeny Malkin, 25 points in 32 games. Ricardo Cal. I mean, these guys aren't even doing that great. They're not killing it. I will say the one bummer is that you did lose Marcus Pettersson. He is going to be out for a little bit. An injury, and so hopefully they get him back because I know they definitely want to trade him and try and get some value back. And maybe if they go to the playoffs, maybe they don't trade him. Maybe they hold on to him to give this team some staying alive, giving them some freaking pumps to keep this team alive. So, anyways, let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe. I love you guys so much. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll catch you next one. You beautiful sons of bitches. Love you.